Welcome back, everyone. It's time for episode 25 of the Horns Up Podcast, your weekly catch-up on all things metal. I am your host, Dan Kaplan, coming to you from Brooklyn. With me, as always, coming from New Hampshire, coming in like a rainbow in the dark, my good friend and co-host, Corey Butterworth. Corey, how's it going?
That's a Dio reference, because Dio's from my town.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, knowledge.
And it's also storming all up and down the entire eastern seaboard tonight, so... Double relevance.
Yeah, we're gonna get that later, which is double relevance.
I got caught in it.
I don't see any rainbow in this dark.
I got caught in it on the way to the gym from work, and it was just miserable. It was one of those days where, you know, of course, I checked the forecast, and it said slight chance of rain later in the day. So I was like, oh, only slight? I'm not going to bring my umbrella. And of course...
Right.
Of course, I don't bring my umbrella. It rains. Had I brought my umbrella, I would have been fine. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. So
yeah, I'm gonna have to deal with that. I mean, the thing is, like, I've been checking the weather frequently because I actually have a pretty dope Saturday upcoming. Me and a group of about 5 or 6 people are gonna do some pretty intensive blinding up in the woods. And all week long it's been like, oh, you know, sunny and mid-60s all day Saturday. And I'm like, yeah. And now it's like shitty. And I was like, fuck, I don't know what to do now. I mean, it's like too late to cancel, so I'm just kind of like in limbo, like let's hope for the best and let's hope my friends aren't pussies and it should be fine. But yeah, it's fucking rain, man. Stupid.
Yeah. I'm actually, the rain is one thing. I was looking at the forecast. I noticed like randomly, we've been having a pretty mild spell of weather here, high 60s, low 70s still. And then all of a sudden I checked, and starting on Sunday, we're just supposed to drop into the 50s like that. Like a one day turnaround, drop like 10, 15 degrees. I was like, all right, like I have my winter coats. I'm ready for it, but
yep, that's called the Northeast, I guess. I mean, God, it damn near hit 70 today. I was like sweating my ass off at points because, I've been prepared for fall the last couple weeks. And it was like, oh, hey, hot weather again. This is dumb, but whatever. I guess I can't complain about it too much. Yeah. As long as it's not miserable for Halloween, then I'll be in a good mood.
Correct. Anyway, what else has been going on in non-weather things? What have you been up to? What's been happening the last week?
God, I feel like that Carcass show we saw at Maryland Death Fest, and they just talked about the weather between every song. So we brought the weather from England here.
I am yes. Jeff Walker.
Let's play.
And I spent approximately the opening 3 minutes of our podcast bitching about the weather. This was fun.
Yeah, it was a wonderful time. No, it's good. Just in the swing of things for the week, like it always is. Whatever. I'm excited to talk about a certain album later on the show, but that's pretty much all I got for now.
Yes, I will join with you in that. But before we get to that, let us, as per usual, let us kick off with some headlines. We are going to start off. I ordered these one way in our little talking points sheet here, but I'm going to do these out of order because I don't want to end on a sour note. Going to start off with some sketchy news from the Black Flag camp. Late last week, we saw some allegations from guitarist Greg Ginn's ex-wife Marina, who leveled some pretty severe accusations against Ginn, alleged that their 2 daughters, Isadora and Caris, live with Ginn in an industrial building that also serves as his practice space and have been kept in pretty deplorable conditions. How deplorable? Quote, they have complained that his behavior has recently grown increasingly erratic, that he is routinely denying them food and threatening them, that he is increasingly abusing alcohol and drugs in front of them, and that they have witnessed confrontations and physical violence at the building where they live. This, of course, from the affidavit that Marina filed. She also alleges that, among other things, he only feeds them lettuce and vinegar, has them do chores until 2 a.m., and even catcalls them, his own daughters. Bear in mind, they are 10 and 7. Now, it should be noted that Greg and Marina are in an ongoing divorce battle, so we don't know. Are there any issues with the veracity of these allegations? Is Marina just trying to get ahead in these proceedings? Right. We don't know. However, if these are true, I mean, Jesus Christ. Like,
It's dude, it's shady. I mean, it's really kind of messed up. I mean, I'm sure there's some level of truth to it. I'm sure some of it is a little embellished. These divorce situations are messy, and I'm sure, I'm not calling her a liar, but it's not uncommon for things to kind of be just pushed over the edge a little bit, like you said, for the sake of getting a step ahead. But these accusations don't come from anywhere. Like, they're very specific, especially about the food, about the cat calling, punishment, like throwing water in their face. Like, those are all very specific things. This isn't just like outlandish statements that are just broad and really unfounded. I mean, there's got to be some level here. So either way, it's a kind of messed up situation.
Yeah. And you would
10 and 7. I mean,
yeah,
Jesus.
you would hope that Child Protective Services, if Marina can't step in and force them out of his custody, if this is true, you would hope that Child Protective Services would be on this kind of thing. How he even got custody of them in the first place is a curiosity. But
Yes, it is.
Obviously numerous outlets have reached out to Ginn for comment, and he's kind of private. And he's traditionally been private, so no response at this point. We'll have to wait and see what comes of it. But if this is true, I mean, Jesus Christ, it's gonna be a lot of. Someone on Twitter said, I can't remember who exactly it was, but someone on Twitter said there are going to be a lot of punk kids going to the tattoo parlors to get their black flag tattoos covered up or removed if this turns out to be
probably
true. But at any rate, we'll have to keep tabs on this. I don't know if there have been any developments since the initial reporting, but as anything emerges, we will certainly keep you posted. Moving on, we have a topic of discussion that I want to get into that I've encountered a lot lately, stemming from some comments from Clutch vocalist Neil Fallon. Now, these come from an interview Fallon did with Pop Culture Madness, and he was asked a question about cell phone usage at concerts. And he said the following, quote, "Music recorded is a static thing. Every time you listen to Four Sticks by Led Zeppelin, it's going to sound the same. But if you have the opportunity to see a band live, that live experience, unless they use a lot of pre-recorded tracks, is going to be a one-time event. And if you're spending your time at the show holding up your phone and filming the concert, you're not participating in it. At least that's the way I feel. I kind of treat concerts the way I do a dinner. Turn off your phone, Now, Metal Insider, which is where we got this story, Metal Insider, in covering this, also included a quote from Canadian post-hardcore band Ken Mode that took a slightly less diplomatic approach. They said, quote, "If you stand in front of us and text while we're performing, expect to be either bathed in quite directed mucus or have your phone kicked from your hands by a man with a guitar or bass in his hands." Now, I don't know what the hell a Ken Mode is, but whatever it is, they sure hit the nail on the head with that quote. I really am.
Well, to an extent.
I'm just getting tired, though, of people going to concerts and holding up their phones and filming the entire thing. Always I always end up standing behind these fuckers, and I have to look at the show through their dinky little iPhone screen. I'm like, are we for real right now?
Well, here's the... First of all, we shouldn't be, but we are. I mean, that's just people. First of all, the people that choose to record shows on their phones, do you really think the quality is going to be that A, listenable, B, watchable, or C, enjoyable later on? Just how about fucking this? Remember it. I mean, for God's sakes. So I am 100% with Neil on this one. I will say, as far as just having a phone out, I use my phone to take pictures if I don't want to bring my expensive camera, because let's face it, metal shows get rowdy. Every so often, if you get a text, you may want to freaking respond to it. I get that too, so I don't question having a phone at a show. So to go along with this Ken Mode thing, I mean, again, if you stand in front of us and text, I mean, yeah, if you're texting consistently and constantly, that's one thing. Don't be at the fucking front, for one thing. And that would be annoying. But, people have their phones. It's what we unfortunately live off these days. But to actually blatantly have your phone out and recording something, that's just stupid. That's just stupid. I mean, you clearly wanted to see these guys live, so go see them live. If you want to remember it, then just don't get hammered. And what's more than that, buy a goddamn live DVD. How about support them a little bit? It'll be better quality than whatever you have anyway.
Yeah.
Like, honestly.
Yeah.
So I'm 100% on Neil's bandwagon here. I mean, really.
Yeah.
I actually watched his interview. He made a lot of good points about a lot of subjects. I will mention that. So if you get a chance to watch it, do it.
He's an articulate dude. He's an intelligent guy.
Yes,
I'm with him. I'm with you. I think a phone is a good thing to have at a concert, between sets, when a band's doing sound check and stuff like that. Yeah. Okay, fine. It's nice to be able to pop open and read some emails or whatever. But, just my limit is like, I'll go and I'll take like a picture or two, but that's it. I mean, I really, it's going back to your point. You're paying for this. You're paying for this live experience. You're so preoccupied with remembering, with documenting this experience so that you can remember it later on, that you're not remembering it in the moment. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, for one thing, Dan, this is just me hating humanity here a little bit, but we're at an age where people need to document everything, including themselves in a given moment in time. That's why people take fucking selfies. It's like, no offense, you're not interesting enough for somebody to take a picture of you. Don't take one of yourself. I'm sorry. And by the way, look in a fucking mirror. I mean, it's just everything needs to be documented. Everything needs to be shared. Everything's about attention. And it's fucking stupid. And this falls into that category as far as I'm concerned.
I would have to agree.
Do something photo worthy if you want to get your picture taken.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
I do have to say, I remember going to one show. It was at the Ocean back in March, where there was a girl
awesome
who
show.
Clearly was just one of those people holding up her phone the entire time. And, during Atlas Moth and during Scale the Summit, the crowd was less rowdy. They were more, focused on watching the show and enjoying the music.
Right.
So she could get away with, this whole holding your phone up literally the entire fucking time. However, when the Ocean came on, they brought a little bit more energy than either of those two bands. You have Loic jumping into the crowd. You have Robin Stapps jumping into the crowd. And the crowd accordingly was going nuts. And I'll never forget, like, this girl was holding up her phone and someone started crowd surfing and it got kicked out of her hand. And I was just like,
perfect.
Yes. I was like, you deserve
I hope it was
all of
expensive,
that.
you piece of shit.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Seriously.
No, it's bullshit. I mean, I will document at least a picture or two from every band I see, mostly because, I go to a lot of shows, and at the end of the year, I do like going back and looking at the shows I've been to, just seeing the bands on the stage. It's just one or two, because I do. I like at the end of the year going back and being like, oh yeah, I remember that. That was cool. But this is not even the same spectrum of phone usage, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that's something I can talk about for hours, but I am 100% with Neil on this one. That is a lot of bullshit. It really is.
Yep.
I don't know. Support the goddamn bands, guys. Just watch them.
Don't
insult them by going to the front row and then using your phone.
Yeah. Yeah. Neil Fallon continuing to cement his place on the good humans list with these viewpoints. Moving on, our final headline of the week. I don't know that I've ever laughed so hard at anything we've talked about on this podcast as I did discovering this news bit. I mean, can you think of anything? I had tears in my eyes reading this.
For the sake of staying on topic and not, playing devil's advocate, no, I can't think of anything in recent memory that's remotely this absurd. This is just ridiculous. It's the most amusingly stupid thing I've ever heard in my life.
So Honda, obviously the motorcycle car four-wheeler motor company, Honda, the big one,
Well, in this case, it's motorbike company.
Yes.
More on that later.
Honda has partnered with Swiss folk metal band Eluveitie. They've announced a partnership on branded CRV cars and motorcycles. No, This is for real. I thought this was a Metal Sucks joke. I thought this was in the same vein as Johan Hegg being a sponsor of Under Armour. No. Or
Right.
Under Armour being a sponsor of Johan Hegg. No. This is 100% real. I'm going to read you the full statement from Eluveity's website verbatim because this is too hilarious not to read in full. Quote,
Again, but before you start, this is not a Metal Sucks article. This is not a Metal Injection article. This is on Eluveitie's website.
this is 100% true.
Exactly.
Quote, we know what it means to be on the road. Besides thousands of air miles and countless nights in tour buses, we know every stretch of highway between our beautiful home in Switzerland and the festivals and concert venues of Europe. And even beyond our touring activity, we enjoy the freedom of the open road, best enjoyed on a trustworthy motorbike. With that in mind, we are extremely excited to announce a new partnership we could not be happier about. Eluveitie, powered by Honda. Honda builds vehicles that allow us to ride not just in style and comfort, but to also keep the CO2 footprint generated during our extensive travels as small as possible. We can now transport people and equipment as efficiently as never before in our CRV cars, and our bikers, Kay and Pata, can explore the world on the incomparably reliable Cross-Tourer VFR. Quoting Pata, nothing compares to the feeling of freedom when cruising the Swiss mountains on my powerful new VFR. The agility and sound of this machine is just incredible, and most of all, so much fun. The massive packing capacity also allows for the most extended tours, so there are virtually no limits to our plans. We can't wait to see where this partnership will take us. Just going to read that back. Eluveitie, powered by Honda.
I am, before I was about 80% sure, but now I'm about 150% sure that Honda actually wrote that article. Because that's just
they had
too
to.
absurd for any band I've ever listened to in my life to have written something that
This is
ghastly.
this is totally Honda's marketing and PR team at work.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't know if this is a Switzerland only deal because I can't imagine Eluveitie is that big anywhere else that they, have enough clout to secure a deal with Honda.
Right.
I mean, that kind of shocks me.
Right.
I think it's cool. I mean, good for them.
I mean, the other, I just doing
just
some other digging on this because I was kind of curious what the fuck else Honda's been doing because Christ almighty, what the hell? And the most recent partnership I got to see was with the Detroit Symphony Orchestra. This isn't that at all. This is a much different scale. So it's got to be like Switzerland only. It has to be because this is just fucking ridiculous.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me of what the hell was it? Was it Greyhound, like the official bus line of metal bands or something? That commercial we saw a couple months ago. This is just hysterical. I mean, I guess the music industry is so completely shambolic at the moment. You got to find new sources of income and new sources of sustenance and the ability to keep your show going. So props to Eluveitie for that. But I'm still about 25% sure that this is like an elaborate April Fool's joke, but just carried out 6 months late.
I really just don't have. I mean, I don't know really what to say or describe about this. This is just, yeah, like you said. I mean, if metal's that big and they got to deal with Honda, I guess, hooray, go money. But at the same time, it's like, fucking what? Oh God,
I can't even I'm not even mad at this. I'm just stunned. I'm spellbound by this.
I mean, you can't really be mad at this. I wouldn't think. I mean.
Yeah. I'm kind of at a loss for words.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say. I mean, Eluveitie, powered by Honda.
I'm going to be saying that a lot at very random times. I just foresee that in my future. I'm just going to get really mad and just say, God, Eluveitie, powered by Honda. Son of a bitch. So, we'll see where that takes us. Let's see where the open road takes Eluveitie and us.
Oh boy. Well, kudos to Eluveitie for getting their touring transportation sorted, I guess.
Guess they don't want-
That'll wrap up headlines for the week. Had to end on that hilarious note. Let's move into some concert reviews. Now, I went to another show this week. I saw two technically not metal bands, but it was a ridiculously fun show that I'm just going to describe anyway. So I went to see on Monday night, I went to Santos Party House and I went to see Jeff the Brotherhood and Diarrhea Planet. Now, Jeff the Brotherhood, and Diarrhea Planet, they're both on Infinity Cat Recordings. They're both out of Nashville. Jeff is, there's sort of like a kind of grungy type thing, indie garage rock, but with some strong grunge influences. Diarrhea Planet is garagey, but more leaning towards pop punk. I saw them at Governor's Ball. Absolutely loved them. Went to see them again. The next opportunity I had to see them in New York, I had to go check them out. Cause they're just an amazing live band. They have now a 6-piece band, 4 guitar players, at least 2 of whom are soloing like mad at any given time. They just bring so much energy on stage. They ran through a lot of stuff from their most recent full length, Rich Beyond Your Wildest Dreams, but also some stuff from their EPs. They played a new song called Bamboo Curtain, and they actually closed out their set with a cover of Semi-Charmed Life by Third Eye Blind, which was a ton of fun. The entire crowd was singing along. This was a blast. And then we got into Jeff the Brotherhood, who is normally just a duo. But they had a live bassist and another guitar player with them. The bassist, I had to laugh. The bassist looked like Justin Broderick from Godflesh if he had curly, almost fro-like hair. It was really weird. The whole time I was thinking is that Justin Broderick? What's going on here? They did kind of like a grungy thing. They also closed their set with a cover of Rush's Working Man, which was a lot of fun. They brought out a couple of the guys from Diarrhea Planet to play on some of their songs. It was fun.
Yeah.
It was a really, really good show all around. I'll definitely plan on seeing Jeff the Brotherhood again. Diarrhea Planet, I've already made my plans to see again because they're coming back to New York City on Halloween night and I have tickets. So this will be 3 times this year seeing Diarrhea Planet, which honestly, folks, look past the name. I know the name is ridiculous. Look past the name and go see this band live because this is a life-altering live band. This is a life-altering concert experience. They're so much fun.
It's
I can't even describe it.
It's interesting because I'm between a little bit between a rock and a hard place with them. They're on tour. They'll be in this area soon, but the night that they're in Boston, I want to say it's the same night as a pretty good show at the Palladium in Worcester as well. It's a Friday night, so either way it's workable. I just don't know. I'm just torn. I'm taking a look now to see exactly what I'm working with here because they're playing in downtown Boston at a venue that I'm obsessed with. They're playing at the Sinclair, which is where I've seen the Ocean, where I saw that the first ever Winter Sun headlining show in the U.S. or tour in the U.S. I should say. So playing there, and I absolutely love that venue, and I know with its balcony and stuff like that, it would lead to a perfect show by them. But at the same time, it's I want to say, who the hell is it? Give me one sec here. I want to say it's I want to say it's Origin or something. Oh, okay. It's Arsis Battlecross. I think Overkill is going to be there, which I don't really care about. So I guess, bearing those bands in mind, Arsis I've seen 3 times in the last year and a half. Overkill I don't give a fuck about. And Battlecross, who's entertaining, I'll give them that much. I've seen the last year or 2 as well. So I'll probably end up trekking to Boston for that one. That's actually... Shit, that's the day after tomorrow. God damn. I got shit to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
I probably won't do it.
Regardless of whether you go this time or if you have to wait till next time. The thing with Diarrhea Planet is they're pretty much constantly touring.
I've noticed.
Like I said, I saw them. This will be Halloween night will be my third time seeing them this year, but I know for a fact that they also came through New York City in August, a show that I was out of town for. So they cover ground. I mean, they're pretty much constantly on the road. And I mean, that kind of thing. They've clearly like honed their live show, and it's a well-oiled machine at this point. They're a ton of fun. So if not this time, make a point. Go see them sometime in the future, because they're just a riot.
Yeah, it's easy enough. I mean, and the thing is, it's kind of interesting because you mentioned how they've been touring so much, and it's just, you know, kind of cutting back to that that interview with Neil I was referring that we talked about earlier. He talked about how, you know, Clutch didn't become big until people could listen to their music for free, and they just started seeing more numbers of their shows. You know, and I think in a weird way, it's almost a good thing how, you know, music streaming is such a big thing, because again, bands are pushing shows more frequently because that's where they, you know, basically make their money, and it gives us the opportunity to see more shows, in these bands more frequently. So I mean, I wonder if that's kind of like part of their mentality. If it is, I fucking hope so, because that's awesome. Like, really, it is. You know, these bands don't make money on album sales anymore. They just need to put music out to stay fresh. Like, really. So, yeah, that's nice little.
And another good thing. Speaking of Neil Fallon, another good thing about Diarrhea Planet, they are effectively a cell phone filming proof band. Their crowds get rowdy. And rowdy in the best kinds of ways, like just jumping around and having a good time.
Yeah.
It's not, obviously, you know, like they're not a metal band, so, you know, it doesn't get quite so violent, but it's just active. It's a fun environment. Yeah, active. That's a good way to put it. It's mixed well.
It's mixed well. Their shows are mixed well.
Yeah. So that'll do it for my review. Jeff the Brotherhood, Diarrhea Planet. Fantastic show. Would go see both bands again if I could. If they come through, for you listeners out there, if they come through your way anytime soon, run, don't walk. I almost said walk, don't run, but that would not be what I want you to do at all. Run, don't walk. Anyway, let us move into, now that we have killed, close to half an hour on this thing. Let's move into some new releases. We've got 3 for you this week. Starting off with a new one from a band that we both enjoy quite a bit. Scar Symmetry. They're back with the 6th studio album, The Singularity Phase 1 Neo-Humanity. I know it's a bit of a mouthful. It is the first of what's meant to be a trilogy, and the first to be produced, mixed, and mastered entirely by guitarist Per Nielsen. Before we get into the discussion, here's a little synopsis of the album, of the story we're working with. From their Wikipedia page, quote, "The first phase of the trilogy is centered around the rise of artilects," hooray, made up words, "with mental capacities far above the human level of thought, and that by the year 2030, one of the world's biggest industries will be artificial brains, used to control artilects that will genuinely be intelligent and useful. The lyrical content focuses on the divide between those who embrace the new technology and those who oppose it due to the social issues caused by the rise of artificial intelligence and the emergence of transhumanists who add artilect technology to their own bodies." Think about that for a minute. Let's digest it. Now, with that in mind, what do we think of The Singularity Phase 1 Neo-Humanity?
Oh, fucking, what am I supposed to do?
Is it just me? I went into this. I'm looking at this. I don't mean this as a knock against Scar Symmetry. I like them. I have enjoyed multiple albums of theirs, but doesn't this seem like a bit too highbrow for them? I always sort of looked at them as like fun and catchy, but not conceptual, not anything you have to think about like this. This just seems a little bit out of their league.
I mean, this concept, maybe I'm just not grasping what they're trying to put out lyrically in these albums, but I feel like their concept on this trilogy has been put forth in their first 3 or 4 albums, to be honest with you. I mean, I don't care. I really don't. I mean, this is a band I enjoy. They're fun. They're catchy. I don't invest a whole lot of effort in them. I don't invest a whole lot of really anything into them, but they are a fun listen. They really are. I thought this album was a little bit poppier than the stuff I've heard off of, say, for example, Dark Matter Dimensions, Holographic Universe, even to an extent, The Unseen Empire. But, I mean, come on, guys. Making up words has been your thing for a while, or at least mixing weird words that you probably don't need to. I mean, I'm looking at a song called, Quantum Leaper and the Kaleidoscope God. So just using words in weird places has been their...
Well, forget about that. Let's just look at this album. We have Neuromancers, Neuromancers. Then we have, that's the penultimate track. The final song is called Technocalyptic Cybergeddon, which, I shit you not, I had to say that slowly a bunch of times to be able to, I had to practice that to be able to say it at normal speed. Technocalyptic Cybergeddon.
I'm willing to bet that
these are just made up words.
I'm willing to bet that title is one that's more of the growly side of their vocals in that song, less the singy, because that's fucking hard to say anyway. I mean,
truth be told, I actually enjoyed the heck out of the song. I'm just pointing out that they can't words.
No, they can't. Well. I mean, they can words really well because they're finding new ones. I mean, that's how I see it. I mean, I think I actually thought the last two songs of the album were probably the high point for me. Again, it sounds like Scar Symmetry. Scar Symmetry. It does. And if you want to listen to Scar Symmetry, go pick it up. I'm sure it's going to be like $5 somewhere. It's good. It's listenable. It's entertaining. It's exactly what you want from a Scar Symmetry record. Again, that's exactly the same thing I've said about their first 4 albums. So as far as this trilogy goes, as far as I'm concerned, they already wrote a trilogy a while ago, and this is just building off that further because, again, their sound is their sound. And they can, go with the concepts all they want. As far as I'm concerned, they've been kind of doing the same thing regardless of whether it's part of this trilogy or not. Not a bad thing. Again, I will reiterate, not a bad thing. It just is, I guess. But it is. It's a fun listen. Yeah. I don't know. I think sonically they've got some cool stuff going on as always. Limits to Infinity. I mean, the chorus on that song, Jesus Christ, is that catchy. Right. But yeah, definitely with you. I think Neuromancers and Technocalyptic Cybergeddon are 2 highlights. I think it's fine. I don't know if it's going to win them any new fans, but it certainly won't lose them any fans either. It's Scar Symmetry doing Scar Symmetry. So we'll see how firmly they commit to the other 2 parts in this storyline. I personally haven't looked at the lyrics. I don't really care to pay attention to it. I'm just going on the music at this point, and the music is fun. So we'll leave it at that. Scar Symmetry, The Singularity, Phase 1, Neo-Humanity. It's out now on Nuclear Blast. Get it on the Spotify's. Check it out. Next up, we have a new album from Exodus, the Bay Area thrash legends. Blood In, Blood Out. It is their 10th studio album, first since 2010's Exhibit B, The Human Condition, and the first with longtime vocalist Steve Souza since 2004's Tempo of the Damned. Before I even started listening to this, I don't know about you, my first thought was, why is this 11 songs and a full hour long? I had a feeling this was going to end up being a bad thing. And funny story, I was right. That is a funny story because it's so rare. No, anyway. Not going to be a dick. But here's the thing with this Exodus album. See, I listened to Winterfylleth, and then I popped open Exodus, and I saw how long it was, and I said, you know what? I don't care enough. And I went back to Winterfylleth, which we'll talk about later. So this is one you are surely going to take the reins on, because I listened to the first 15 seconds of the first track and didn't care anymore. So Exodus, well done with those first 13 seconds. I applaud thee.
Well, the first track was a weird entry point because they featured Dan the Automator from Gorillaz, who was one of the founding musical partners of Gorillaz, Damon Albarn's hip hop, whatever you want to call it,
rap
rock
yeah.
project, which I actually quite like, but working with Exodus?
Weird.
How is that going to work? The answer is not all that well. It's a very strange beat that leads off. It sort of gets us off on the wrong start, the wrong foot. It doesn't quite feel like it knows what it wants to be as a song. The first song is called Black 13. I should clarify. It doesn't really feel like it knows what it wants to be. However, it leads into the title track, which was, I thought, a lot of fun. Blood In, Blood Out. It's just classic thrash. It's what you want from Exodus at this point. Sousa sounds pretty solid on vocals. From there, I mean, really, the only other song I enjoyed was Salt the Wound, which really reminded me of something that could have gone on his last album, On Tempo of the Damned. Apparently, Kirk Hammett, who co-founded the band, did stuff on it too. I'm assuming took the guitar solo, but nothing really stood out in that regard. It didn't really like wow me the way a guest spot should, I think. They brought Chuck Billy from Testament in to do guest vocals on BTK, which, Chuck and Steve Sousa do. They are in Dublin Death Patrol together, so like they've worked together many times in the past. But that song is underwhelming too. I mean, there's a lot of bloat to this thing. A lot of songs are promising, and then they just go on too long. I mean, it's not bad, but it's not particularly great either. I feel like with Steve Sousa coming back to the band, this one really should have hit it out of the park. And it just doesn't. It's not great. I wasn't feeling it.
All right. Well, that's upsetting and just kind of furthers my...
Certainly not the worst thing I heard all year.
No, there's been some bad shit out there. That's for damn sure. But I thank you for...
It's not the worst thing I've heard all year, but it's very firmly lower middle of the pack.
So, I mean, all you really did at this point was just confirm my decision-making and not listening to it. So, and for that, I thank you. So that's great. That's great news. That's an hour of my life I did not lose.
There you go. Yeah.
Perfect.
So yeah, Exodus, Blood In, Blood Out. That is also out on Nuclear Blast. If you're an Exodus fan, it's on Spotify. You know what to do. And finally, our big one this week, the one we alluded to earlier. We are talking about Winterfylleth. The Divination of Antiquity. It is the fourth album from the Mancunian black metal quartet. Wow. This thing was fantastic. Right from the get-go. I mean, it picked up right where the Threnody of Triumph, their last album, left off. Fantastic start. And it just never really let up, did it?
No. This is... So I'm going to gesture aggressively with my hand, which nobody's going to see, but I've got, my list of top albums for the year, and this one kind of did one of these things. Way up to the top.
It splooged its way to the top.
Splooged its way to the... Oh, well, I mean, duh. How else would you get there? I mean... Dude, I'm just looking through this track listing right now, and I can't see a song in there that didn't just like, in some capacity, wow me a little bit. From the instrumentals, like The World Ahead, the opener, like you already mentioned, was amazing. Some notables for me were Warrior Herd. I mean, Forsaken in Stone was probably the perfect closing to this album. I love that track. I know you felt pretty strongly about A Careworn Heart, which is right up there in my top 2 or 3 tracks from this album as well. Over Borderlands, this thing was great. I mean, start to finish. I mean, holy Christ! And this is one I absolutely have to pick up. It's got to be my collection. I got to have it. It's awesome. It's thank God for friggin' black metal. I mean, my good Lord, so good.
saved the week for us. No, I'm with you. I loved it. A Careworn Heart was my personal favorite song, but I'm looking at it right now. I mean, I didn't score a single track under a 4 out of 5, which tells you all you need to know. I mean, the Careworn Heart was great. Whisper of the Elements did a great job of working in melody. It was as strong a melodic side as anything you'd hear from Deaf Heaven, but they just do it in a more traditional
black metal way.
black metal way. Yeah, it's very abrasive. It's raw. And this thing just sounds massive.
Yeah.
They brought Chris Fielding on, who, he's produced everything from Napalm Death to Electric Wizard. He really came through for him here. It's a beautiful sounding record, and I really don't think they missed a single beat. This is definitely a highlight of the year for me. Easily a top 10er. It's for my year-end list.
I mean, I could spend a lot of time talking about this album. I really could. It's top 10. I mean, this thing I'm gonna say right now is gonna end up being in the top 5 without a doubt. I mean, I know there's still some stuff coming out, but
that's bold. That is bold right there.
It is, but
we still got Z2. We've still got At War with Reality. You're gonna make that leap.
You've named 2 albums. Those aren't 5. So yes, I am. I mean, for one, the album came. It's I don't know. It came at the right time. I'm excited to see these guys even more so now at MDF next year. Which I keep forgetting.
Wait, they're playing MDF?
Happen. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they are actually.
Hold the fucking phone. I need to look at this.
Please do, because I'm also double checking now because I'm nervous.
We'll edit this down.
Oh, was I thinking of Valenfire? Yeah, I was. Son of a bitch.
Valenfire. There is a band called Winter. They just didn't. They just forgot the Fylleth, unfortunately.
Well, I mean, there's always going to be a Winter or a Vinter or something like that at MDF. We've known this. That's upsetting.
Yeah,
fucked it up with Valenfire. Oh well, they're good too, I guess. Well, shit. Now I got to find a way to see these guys. Yeah, this is. I mean, it's. Oh god, it's such a good album. I mean, I gotta pick this one up at some point. It's worth the what it ended up being like. I think it was like 46 minutes, something like that. Not that long. It was a pretty solid length.
It's close to an hour. It's close to an hour, but it goes fast.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the thing. Like I listened to it and it didn't drag. It went by so smoothly.
Yeah,
it was like it's like a good scotch. goes down without a struggle. So
that it does.
Yeah. Right there with you. Winterfylleth, The Divination of Antiquity. It's out now on Candlelight Records. Check this out. Most definitely run, don't walk. I'm not gonna fuck up my phrasing on this one. Run, don't walk. So that'll do it for new releases. We only did 3 this week, but there are certainly some more coming out. We have an Inter Arma record that's actually it's just a single song, a 40-minute EP that I'll be checking out on the side. You know where to find them. But yeah. Done with the new releases. Let's move into our old releases. Let's get into some retrospectives. Corey, what do you got for us this week?
Alrighty.
Not much.
This kind of popped up in passing this past week, and I was just kind of, I decided to go back and take a trip down memory lane, and what I ended up going back to was actually the Vadnet Viscar EP. Which came out again. This is.
You mean that 3-song EP that they sustained their live shows with for like 2 years?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm referring to. This album, this EP, whatever the fuck you want to call it. It's 4 songs technically. The first one's a 44-second intro, which, by the way, if you actually buy the CD itself, it's not on it. So there goes that. It's 3 songs. It's Weakness at 4:30. Intention Oblivion, which is my personal favorite, at just over 8 minutes, and then Barren Earth at just over 13 minutes, which is just all kinds of epic. And I just listened to this once through for a couple reasons. One, because it's about a 20-minute span of time, which for me is no obligation whatsoever, which is kind of nice. I mean, also a little bit of New Hampshire pride going on there. I mean, but more than anything else, it just kind of, they rode this thing for well over a year, because it was good enough to do so. It's that simple. They got signed to Century Media for their full length Sky Swallower, which came out last year, which is awesome. Which I know we've talked about at least once or twice before on this show. And this thing just popped up, and I just went through it once or twice. And it reminded me of when I first saw them live. It was right after I graduated Syracuse that summer. I went down to New England Death Fest or whatever in Worcester. Actually, I went to see Excrecker, who I missed most of because I was drunk the night before. I feel like most of my sentences start that way, or stories. Anyway.
Because reasons.
And I just kind of heard these guys in the distance. I checked them out. They played their third song, and I was like, all right, what's next? Like, nope, that's all we got. We've written 3 songs to this point. And I'm just like, oh, well, now I'm sad. And then I saw them again like a year later, and guess what? It was the same 3 songs. But they're good. They're really good songs. They're a lot of fun. They're, sludgy black metal. It's great stuff. It's a fun listen. I mean, again, it's like 25 minutes. Go freaking and have a nice walk and listen to this thing. It's pretty fucking cool. It really is. Technically, It came out, I guess, in March of 2012, but I swear to God, it came out like 2 years before that, and they've just been milking it that long. Maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? But
they've done with that actually. I mean, they've done such an amazing job, like growing as a band. I mean, obviously, I love the EP, but Sky Swallower was one of my favorite albums from last year, like metal or otherwise. You've stuff from like, I mean, shit, Breath of the Almighty. Like, geez, it still
Apex,
sticks with me to
Fogs
this day.
of
I still
Apathy.
give that a spin.
Take your pick on that album. I mean, it opens big. Fog of Apathy is big. Breath of the Almighty, which they put a video out for and all that stuff, is a crazy epic song. I personally like Apex the most. It's great. It's an awesome album. Like you said, metal or otherwise, their first album with a label, and it's great. They're doing well, and it's just really, for me, obviously, I love seeing bands I've liked when they had literally 3 songs to their discography, all of a sudden, touring well, going to Europe, and all this stuff, and just becoming bigger. Because guess what? These guys are about an hour down the road from where I live. So it's kind of cool. It really is. Especially when it's, black metal. So yeah, this is where it all began. Good job, Vatnet Viscar.
Good stuff. Good stuff. My retrospective, I'm going to take us back to 2004. 2004, Dan listened to a lot of the album Hellfire Club by Ed Guy. Power metal is kind of underrepresented on Horns Up thus far.
Not an accident.
For obvious reasons, for reasons that should be obvious, I should say. But yeah, Hellfire Club. I remember I used to, because I was a weirdo and had more online friends than actual real life friends in high school. I posted to an Iron Maiden bulletin board pretty frequently. And when this one came out, no, this is 100% true. When this one came out, the Iron Maiden bulletin board fellow posters went nuts for it. I had never heard of Ed Guy before. I was still pretty firmly in my old school, like 80s heavy metal phase, 80s heavy metal exclusively phase, I should say. But people were going nuts for it. So I picked it up at FYE when FYE was, I guess FYE is still a thing.
Barely.
But picked it up there, checked it out. This thing's a lot of fun. You've got your definite power metal tropes. You've got a 10-minute, almost 11-minute song called The Piper Never Dies. You have just these incredibly schmaltzy songs, but then you have fun stuff. Like there's a song called Lavatory Love Machine. There are some really, really catchy choral melodies. There's stuff like Down to the Devil, a song called Under the Moon, which is fantastic. They also do, on certain versions of the CD, come with a couple of bonus tracks. They do an alternate version of the opening song Mysteria with Mili Petroza from Creator on vocals, which is a ton of fun. Some songs are better than others, but I really enjoyed it. It was my first Ed Guy album, and to date, my only Ed Guy album. I don't really know if they've done anything better or will do anything better, but I enjoy the hell out of this one. 10 years old, but it still goes down pretty well. Hellfire Club, Ed Guy, I believe it's on Nuclear Blast. It's definitely on Spotify, so check it out. It's a fun listen.
Okay, I will. Yeah.
You won't.
I might. I go through phases where all of a sudden it's
I
like, I could really listen to some power metal right now, and like 10 minutes later, just kind of just fizzles. But we'll see. Maybe it won't linger some one of these
point,
days.
I'm at the point right now where the only power metal I can listen to is Blind Guardian.
Yes, always.
Legacy of Kings, the Hammerfall album, and this album. Other than that, I mean, if you tell me power metal, it's going to go in one ear and out the other. I'm sorry it's like that, but
yeah, I don't think I have a ton of. I mean, I've got a fairly decent collection. I just don't think I have a ton of power metal. Like I said, the only stuff I actually have like docked in my playlist, iTunes, whatever you want to call my CD collection, is really just Blind Guardian, which I guess is a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, it's kind of weird, really. Meh, not that weird, I guess.
I was a big power metal guy when I was like scared of real metal, when I was like the growling vocals and oh god, they're talking about Satan, when that kind of shit like like weirded me out. But yeah, it's really I've kind of scaled back my power metal listening in recent years. I don't know why. It's not really my thing anymore. But
because cheese and just same sounding.
Yeah.
Aside from Blind Guardian, obviously. They're the exception to every rule.
That they are. But if I don't know, if you decide you want to go back into some power metal, check it out. It's a fun listen. Yeah, so that's my retrospective. Let's close things out. Let's do a horns up and horns down. Corey, start with horns up. What do you got this week? What has made you happy?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's a horns up, but it's almost like a, it's not like a linear up. It's more like a 45-degree angle up because it's a little confused. Not completely horizontal, but it's a little confused. I participated in this past week's homecoming up at Syracuse. I ventured to the old stomping grounds where, things were rowdy and awesome. And I knew it was going to be weird going into it because it was different. I knew I was going as a visitor. I did the whole hotel thing and all that shit, which was fine. It was fun. I've done that before, past basketball games, etc., etc. And it was a good weekend though. It was nice to kind of like, see the atmosphere, spend some time on the quad before the football game. The weather was amazing. I went to Empire. I did the rounds for a weekend, which is really, really cool. And you reflect, and it brings back some awesome times from those 4 years or whatever, especially senior year when we could actually do things because of old enough to drink and stuff. Right. But I mean, more than that, I guess even beyond that, our football team had a good showing as, one of the better teams in the country in Florida State. I still say they're top 3. We'll see how the year plays out, but they played well, good quarterback. So I guess that's my sports covering for this episode, at least. Yeah, I don't know. It was just nice. It was nice to get away. Took a half day Saturday. Yeah, Syracuse. I mean, whatever. It's always going to be, a part of, me, and I'm sure you, because it was home for 4 years. I mean, that's kind of what springboarded us to where we are now. So for that, it's always going to be something that's kind of like held in a high regard and a high level memory for me. So it was nice just to kind of go back for a couple days and just kind of take it all in again for a little while. Had to mention it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's weird for me because I know we've talked about this. Like, I'm sort of past the point where, I realize, like, whenever I go back, I realize, like, it's not Syracuse that I miss, but it's that time in our life. It's being in Syracuse with the people we were there with, which unfortunately, I mean, that's the long and short of it is we're never going to get that back.
No, of course not.
But
once you understand it,
is fun going back. It was a special place.
Yeah, exactly. And when I go back, I don't necessarily go back to, I mean, for one, I guess I will say it is kind of fun to go to, because you stay at the Renaissance, or I guess it's now the Crown Plaza or whatever. You stay at the Crown Plaza, you can walk to the bars, Armory Square. You can walk to the bars on campus. You can walk to campus. It's a pretty good spot. And you go to these places, and it's fun to go to these bars, and because you enjoy the bars, like we enjoyed the spots that we enjoyed while we were there, obviously, for what they were. Sakani, Empire, Possibilities. We enjoyed those places, and they're still enjoyable now, obviously. But on top of that, you go back, and a big part of it is just having memories come back, which is what it was mostly this time around, which is, both really nice, but also a very confusing, series of emotions because, like you just said, those are an amazing 4 years. That time and place was, some of the better moments we're going to have in our lives. You think of like when we smashed the TV and shit like that. It's not coming back, but more stuff comes back to you in memory when you're actually there, and you get to kind of enjoy that for a little while. And that's kind of what it was.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
Yep.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed yourself. I unfortunately couldn't make it up. I was home in Pennsylvania dog sitting, but that was fun too. So
yeah.
Good horns up. My horns up for the week. Mine has been a long time coming. Y'all have heard me bitch about Verizon in the past and about my Android phone and about Motorola and this and that. I think they account for a significant percentage of my horns downs since we've been doing this podcast. Well, fortunately, that is now a thing of the past for me. When I was home in Pennsylvania this weekend doing my dog sitting, I went to T-Mobile. I took them up on their offer to buy me out of my contract and pay my early termination fee with Verizon, joined T-Mobile, and I got an iPhone. And I gotta say, I'm really liking it so far. I get more data per month. I get a phone that actually functions, and I'm paying less than I did with Verizon. Quite a bit less, actually.
That's not uncommon.
So this is just... Yeah, it's been wonderful for me. Most of my stuff, like my apps, were already, I could basically import them all over from my iPad, which was nice. It's my contacts imported seamlessly from Google. Like it was just, even though it's not a native like Google phone, I was able to sync my contacts without any issue. I mean, this is just, it was tremendous. It worked and it was so easy. That's what I was looking for. Like with Verizon, I had gotten so frustrated, not with Verizon, with Android, I should say. With Android, unless you get like a Nexus phone, no matter what you do, you're working with different manufacturers that give you different versions of the Android software with different quality assurance, with different download times, different unveilings. I mean, it's too much to deal with. It's a pain in the ass. Apple, you get one company that makes the phone, and that same company also makes the software. It's easy. You're done. It comes out when it's ready. It's night and day, and I'm ready. I was so reluctant for the longest time to give Apple a monopoly over my mobile life. I obviously have a MacBook Pro, I have an iPad, and now an iPhone. But shit, if it's going to be easy, I will take easy at this point. I don't want to have to think about this shit.
Right.
And I don't want to have to worry about this shit. And I don't feel like I will have to as much with an iPhone.
Yeah. I've played both games multiple times. And that's the thing. That's exactly it though. People that go with Android or go with, whatever that direction of things, do it because they want those options and they want basically just more stuff. And the problem is when you want the more stuff, like you just said, that it requires more maintenance and you have to deal with more companies that manufacture that stuff. It's just the way it works. It's a bigger network. Not network like wireless network. I mean, network as far as the companies that produce what you use on your phone. iPhones, obviously, Apple's the complete opposite. I've had both. Both have worked. I don't really care. As far as I'm concerned, phones are phones. Like you said, it works. And as long as that's the case, then who gives a shit? I mean, there were things that annoyed me about the Android. There are things that annoyed me about the iPhone. Whatever. I mean, what can I pay at the lowest rate that makes something happen that I want to happen? And that's it. So I'm a little envious because I'm still doing the Verizon game now, and I'm paying a lot, and it works-ish. So I guess the updates.
I will say, I was riding the bus back from Pennsylvania to New York City on Monday. And this trip, I make this trip several times a year. And with Verizon, I could pretty reliably get good service throughout. Sure. T-Mobile, because it's a primarily urban, city dominant network, there were times when I lost my data coverage and I could really only make calls and send texts, but I knew that going in, and I I couldn't get mad at it because I was just like, oh, all right, this is par for the course. I'm going to read a book instead. And it was like refreshing. It was a nice change.
Right. And that's all it is. You make a decision based on knowledge. It's not just like a surprise. And when that's the case, and who gives a shit, really? You can't really be mad. You did the research. So from that standpoint, it can only be good.
Yeah. So that is my horns up. So long Verizon, hello T-Mobile. So long Android, hello iPhone.
I will say just touching on one thing about the iPhone, if you decide to use yours for like an iPod tool, which I have, I've always like kind of swapped music on and off of it, which is really cool because it's on my phone. It doesn't require like Spotify or anything. Certain apps you need to literally clear out everything on it to update them, and that is a pain in the ass. I will say that much. Like to update Facebook, and it's because I have an older iPhone. I don't have the iPhone 6. It's an older iPhone. It's the 5 or whatever. But I usually stock mine up with music constantly. It's always full of music. I have very little apps because, let's face it, all I need is music and a phone that calls and texts people. If I want to update, say, Facebook, I can't actually update Facebook unless I get rid of all the music on it and then update it for some reason. And that becomes a little tedious. But again, that's my personal choice because I choose to literally give my phone no space. So, my own fault. But that's one thing.
See, I got a 16 gig. I wanted a 64, but all they had was a 16. So I'm not going to be putting that much music on there. I'm
you'd be okay
restricting it to like Spotify playlists, which I can undownload and re-download at will and stuff like that. So I'm keeping it simple. But
you'll be okay then.
Anyway, different gear here. Let's go to horns down. What's been pissing you off this week? What's been grinding your gears?
Well, this kind of popped into my life the past week or so. Now, I'm sure I've told the story on this blog or podcast, I guess. And I'm sure blog it's been mentioned too, of what happened last Halloween. I was out dressed as Nurgle, as I wont to do on Halloween. And I decided to be the drunk guy that decided to carry all this free glassware out of a bar. And that bar had stairs. And I was drunk. And I fell down those stairs in costume with this glassware. Glass ended up in my face. I got stitches. It was ugly. It was entertaining. It was a lot of things. Mostly it's in hindsight, it's a phenomenal memory and a phenomenal story to tell because of just its sheer ridiculousness. And that's what I live for. Like really just having stories to tell. So there's that. And it's kind of funny. I was at the Coat of Arms last weekend or a couple weekends ago, and Lauren, my friend there, the blonde server with the glasses or whatever, she was telling me how she wished she had taken a picture because she walked into the kitchen and I still had like all my makeup on as Nurgle, and I had just like rinsed my face, and she just said all I saw like mouth up was your death metal face. And then everything chin down was just soaked in blood. And I was like, that sounds like the picture I want to have forever. It didn't happen, but it's neat. But anyway, I went to the hospital, 2 sets of stitches. I got 7 on the side of my chin, and then I think it ended up being like 12 on the bottom of my chin. It was actually pretty hefty work. They had to sew my face back together. And I got this bill in the mail. I'm not going to talk about my insurance company, just in all fairness, and that's going to be changing in a couple months anyway. But I got this bill from, I won't say my insurance company, but from the physicians group. There were 3 things on this bill. There are obviously 2 sets of stitches, and there's also the, I guess you could say, the evaluation by the doctor when I went into the hospital. Evaluation cost X dollars, cleared, will be paid by insurance. Next step down, cleared, will be paid by insurance. The next one, which is clearly either, it's one of 2 things. It's either the second of 2 sections of stitches, or it's getting the stitches out, just said, no response from insurance, please give us like $800. And I was saying to myself, what the fuck? I mean, I have, my insurance company is really, really good. For what it's worth, it's only a $50 emergency copay, which is pretty cool. Emergency room copay, I should say. But they clearly just decided to not give a shit 2/3 of the way through this thing. I mean, they either said you are only allowed to have 8 stitches in your face in any given year, or they said you can get stitches, but you can't get them taken out. Which either way is kind of like, the fuck? So that's going to escalate for me real quick over the next couple weeks, trying to get to the bottom of why that happened. Because you can bet your ass I don't pay so much for insurance to have them fuck me over half of a trip to the ER. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So that's gonna require some work. That's my horns down. It's a little bit of bullshit. There's no excuse. There's no reason why, full health insurance, when I've paid the copays for both hospital visits, should basically just say, after 66% of the way through. And it wasn't even like insurance rejected. It was no response from payer. Really, guys? Really just not gonna fucking acknowledge that? I mean, it's the same goddamn thing. It's the same trip as everything else was. So, fuck you. I mean, goddamn insurance. I swear to God, it's the devil. Shit. It really is. And people know it's the devil, but people are afraid of that big accident where they don't have enough saved. And they should be, because nobody has that much saved, because we live in a nation that's fueled and run by debt. It's the society we live in. That's why colleges charge as much as they do. It's because they want to build debt and keep things in a more paycheck-to-paycheck lifestyle, because that's fucking just constant stimulation for the economy or something. I don't know, but that's the society we live in. It's a debt-based society, and this insurance is part of it. Could you imagine if, imagine, Dan, we paid $5,000 a year for Syracuse or something like that? We'd all be debt-free at this point. We'd have a decent amount of savings. Something like this happened, I would have no reason to even have insurance. Fuck it. I'll always have $1,000 sitting around. You know what I mean? For these type of situations, they happen maybe every handful of years. They don't happen every year. They don't happen every month. They happen very, very, very intermittently. It's called an accident.
Right.
Unless you're a complete idiot, it shouldn't be a common occurrence. Obviously $1,000 every 3 or 4 years in medical bills at a hospital is a lot cheaper than dropping $50 in every paycheck for that same period of time. Or whatever it is, $100 a paycheck or whatever it is. It doesn't really matter. So that's, again, that's just the way things are, and that's just the way it is, and it's a pain in the ass. I hate insurance, and I have to deal with this fucking mess. So that's easily my horns down for the week. No question.
There you go.
That was exciting.
Well chosen. My horns down. We're looking at another week where I don't talk about sports. This is crazy. My horns down. I'm going to talk about the absolute idiocy with which, I don't want to say just us, with which the entire world has handled this Ebola situation that's going on. You guys, I mean, unless you're living under a rock, you guys know about Ebola. It broke out earlier this year in Guinea, in Liberia, and I forget where else. Senegal, maybe? I'm not 100% sure. West Africa, right, at any rate.
Yep.
Yeah. West Africa. And we're now 7 months in to, this outbreak that began in West Africa, have just now begun to get our cases in the US, because of course, with international travel, it was going to find its way over here eventually. And only now are we beginning to wake up. You see, this afternoon, the 15th, President Obama canceled a visit to campaign with the governors of New Jersey with senators in New Jersey, the governor of Connecticut, to address the Ebola situation and to really sit down with his team and think about Ebola. Really, dude, you couldn't have sat down and thought about it when it was only affecting poor black people in West Africa? Really? So there's that. And it's not just Obama, it's the rest of the world. It's the developed West that shat the bed on this one. Then there's the idiot that was working on the patient in Dallas and contracted the disease from him and flew to Cleveland before her symptoms started to show. I understand symptoms don't show right away, but if you're working on someone with Ebola, don't you think it's prudent to self-impose a little bit of a quarantine? Certainly don't travel to a different state and spread this deadly disease. We're looking at 130 something people that were on a flight with her from Cleveland to Dallas that might now be infected.
Right.
Like, are we for real right now? People are stupid. The hospital in Dallas, the reason the nurses are even getting infected was because the hospital in Dallas decided they didn't really need to follow CDC protocol in providing safety equipment. They had hazmat suits that left their necks exposed. I mean, are we for real right now? Are we all going to be fucking idiots about this? I think I was talking to my brother about this. The reaction we've seen so far to the outbreak of this disease is the reason why my brother and I always say this world could use a new plague. This world could use something that wipes out about 85% of the stupid freaking people in it and just lets us reset and use our heads for a change. And maybe this ends up being that plague. I don't know. But God damn it, we've been stupid about this.
No, it's fucking annoying. It's really, really, really.
We collectively as humanity.
Yeah. No, I mean, for one thing, we're due for an overhaul. And I'm going to say that like an extreme cynic because I am, but we are due, like, humanity's fucking stupid. Humanity's fucked up. We ruin a lot of shit. We're due for an overhaul a little bit. I mean, I don't necessarily think this will be it. I think this is just, an overreaction kind of thing, as it always is when it comes to news. It's like 4 people have this, yet millions of people every day are still cranking out cigarettes that will inevitably give them cancer at some point. But nobody gives a shit. Because people are stupid. Again, same idea. But no. Like, if you're treating somebody with Ebola, you'd think maybe the right thing to do would just be to hang tight for a little while. Just again, I was bit by a dog, at the very beginning of this year, and just for precautionary reasons, the dog was quarantined for a week just to make sure it didn't have, like, rabies or something that didn't have the symptoms show up yet. You think maybe you take some kind of action like that if you're treating somebody with Ebola. Let's hang tight for at least a week just in case the symptoms are still coming, And it's like, how fucking stupid do you need to be? It's kind of funny, a plague wiping out 85% of humanity. A good friend of mine, I won't release his name just for the sake of whatever, he said, I feel like at the end of a year, there should be some higher power that just determines who's a good person and who's a bad person. And every year, at the start of the new year, every good person is allowed to kill 2 bad people. You get rid of the bad shit, you get rid of the dumb shit, and you also lower the population. It's a win-win. And I couldn't agree more. And this is kind of along those lines. It's like, we just need something to filter out some of the fucking horseshit we deal with every day. This included. Oh, man. It's just fucking bad right now, man. It's bad. And I don't know.
Can't.
I mean, Ebola.
I'm stuck on this second nurse. I'm stuck on this second nurse who, like, in what universe, in what fucking moron universe where you have a brain in your head, could it possibly be a good idea after working on a patient with Ebola, after caring for a patient that has since died from Ebola? What universe would it be a good idea to be like, oh, I'm going to go visit some family in Cleveland right now. Let's go do that. Like, are you, it's fucking unbelievable. Sorry, I try not to swear on this podcast, but Jesus Christ, people are stupid.
That's the story you go with. I mean, the thing is, it's stupid, and people are also just very selfish. It's humanity. We're selfish. She never at any point clearly thought about the well-being of her family and what she's been doing for the last few days or whatever. That never crossed her mind that, oh, I've been dealing with infected patients with a disease that's, both contagious or can be contagious and is also deadly. I just dealt with a patient that had it, who died from it. I'm going to go visit some family now. There's no risk in there. I mean, come on. You don't for once think of, like, the family you're visiting and just deciding if maybe you're putting them at risk a little bit. Not once. It doesn't fucking cross your mind. Christ almighty, you deserve to... I'll cut my sentence before I say anything else. But you know what I'm getting at. Like, it's not a wise choice, and it's a fucking asshole move, and it's just... It's in a way just selfish. It really is. And that's just the way it is. Like, really. That's just people being people. Pathetic.
Yep.
Fucking pathetic.
Yep. So there's that. That's my horns down. I'm going to end on a bit of an angry note. But I don't know. I find I haven't really been animated about my horns downs in recent weeks. So it's good to vent a little bit. get that off my chest.
Been a couple weeks.
What's that?
Been a couple weeks. Luckily for you, I'm animated about most things, so that helps.
There you go. So yeah, that'll wrap us up for episode 25. Before we get into our usual reminders, I want to let you listeners know we're at the half year mark of Horns Up, which is kind of crazy to think about. Corey and I are starting to do a little bit of a review process, both for the podcast and the blog. What's just taking a look at what's been working, what hasn't been working. Moving some stuff around, adding some segments, removing some segments, you name it. And obviously, if this is something that you want to share, if you have any suggestions or thoughts on what we can change as we move forward with the next half year, let us know. Email us, comment on our blog. You know where to find us. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. I give you these accounts literally every week. So reach out to us and let us know if you're thinking of anything that might improve the Horns Up product, either online or the podcast. We certainly appreciate all your input, and as listeners, we want to do right by you. So at any rate, Facebook,
we're here for attention.
Like us.
Let's make that attention better.
Right. Anyway, Facebook, like us, facebook.com/HornsUpPodcast, Twitter @HornsUpPodcast. Like us, follow us on YouTube, follow us on iTunes, subscribe to us, Stitcher, Podbean, you name it. We are available in all these places. The blog, hornsupmetalshow.com. Check it. Tell your friends. Do what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing. We love you guys. That, as far as I know, that should wrap us up for episode 25, right?
I would agree.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
Well, with that, I thank you all again for stopping by. And that'll do it for episode 25. Remember, live,
love,
plow,
horns up.
We'll see you next week.